It is a beautiful autumn day. See the leaves, plus they've all just dropped all at once. And I thought I'd spontaneously come out here and tell you the story about how my Puritan ways almost destroyed our homesteading journey. So first, let me be clear that by calling myself a homesteader, I don't think I actually fit into that definition, that term completely. I think in many ways what we do is more like haphazardly gardening with some chickens on the side, because there are people, like, let's be really honest, who like large scale meat and dairy productions, who are actually on this massive journey towards self-sufficiency. And again, I think haphazardly gardening is probably a better term for it. But when I say homesteading, I think people understand what I mean, that we do try to grow as much food as we can. We make all of our own medicines. We do raise chickens. So there is this level of self-sufficiency that my family and I have kind of embarked on. But there was an interesting thing that happened over the last couple of years that really started to make me hate doing this. You see, one of the biggest challenges when it comes to growing your own medicines and your own food and raising animals is deciding where your morals, your ethics, your beliefs lie. And for a very long time, I had this kind of like Puritan way of thinking about things. Now, of course, I'm still prefacing this, we don't use any chemicals on the property, full stop. But we allowed, especially the garden, to become such a struggle, because if you've been following me for a while, you know that we have a huge problem with invasive plants here, including multiple types of thistles. We now have colt's foot everywhere. Nettles aren't really a problem, but it's the thistles and the amount of weeding we had to do just so other stuff could grow. And I was ready to throw in the towel. And I remember when I think I was following another homesteader and they were using the black garden plastic. I was like, no, I can't use plastic in my garden, right? And this is what I'm talking about, these ideas of having these sort of like really pure idealistic standards for how I wanted to do things. And then the reality of the situation set in, that if I had to keep pulling thistles, and I don't know if I can adequately explain, like just our garden box where we had our garlic, which is a 4 foot by 2 foot bed, I have pulled, let me think, probably close to 25 to 30 like giant 5-gallon pails full of weeds. I think they're gallon. I don't know. They're the big white buckets that you buy. And that's just the one garden bed. All the beds were like that, filled with thistles. My kid couldn't even put his hand in, right? And I was at the point where I said to my husband, I'm done. There's a lot of local farmers that do this better than we do. I hate being in the garden. I hate being in the garden. And so I had to do a little bit of soul searching. As you can see over my shoulder, the garden, she's dead and I'm okay with it. So we have been working this land, this soil for a very long time. And when I say we've tried everything, we've tried everything. We've actually went through the effort of digging out all of the soil in the beds, and we spent hours per bed pulling out the root structures of the plants. So like I said, we have 2 thistle species for sure. We have chickweed that has taken over everywhere. And yes, I'm a herbalist. I love chickweed, but I don't need half an acre of it. And if you've ever worked with the root structure, you know it's like really matted, right? And so yeah, like we painstakingly pulled out roots. We've even tilled in the winter right before it really froze in hopes of trying to kill off those root structures. And gardening turned into full-time weeding. And I was about to throw in the towel when I had a really great conversation with a fellow homeschooling mom. And she said, you know what? I'm going to use the garden plastic. She's like, I'm done. Because we have very similar thoughts around what we feed our kids. Both of us only have one child, right? How we want to grow food, the chemicals we don't want to bring into our homes, all that kind of stuff. And she was like, it's either this or I'm done. And it was like hearing my own voice from her. And so I started to do a bit of research. I reached out to a few homesteaders that use the plastic, and I was like, are you seeing bits of plastic in your soil? Are you worried about degradation of the garden plastic? And one of them said, we've been reusing the same sheets for up to 5 years now, and they're still in great shape. So I was like, you know what? It's either this or I'm throwing in the towel. So I had to be flexible. I had to bend a little bit on what was the reason of me getting into this? Right? The reason was so that I could try to grow better food than I can buy. And I still believe that with using garden plastic, I can grow better food than I can buy, if I can be really transparent about that. So this past weekend, I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you what we worked on. So this is the bucket size I'm talking about. Look, he knew I was filming. He always knows how to find me. And this is the garden bed that I was speaking of. All of our garden beds are roughly this size. And I weeded this bed 5 times this year. And each time I pulled out it was worse earlier in the season, but on average 6 to 7 buckets full of thistles and chickweed and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know what the heck it is, but it all seems to have these sprawling root structures, right? So we caved, and I set aside my need for perfection on the homestead, my need to be able to, that's an interesting aspect, my need to be able to say that I meet certain standards online. We're chemical free, all of those things that we try to say. And yeah, we are chemical free, but guess what? Now we're not plastic free. And I don't care, because I still think I'm going to be able to grow better food this way than just not growing it at all. We're doing our best, because the next thing was going to be to give up. So this is where we planted our garlic. We bought these little stake thingies. Here's one. Where is... Oh, there it is, right there. So I think that's going to hold it down. I don't know. We've never done this before. Malfoy, get off the garlic. And then we did use a lighter to burn holes in it. And then we planted our garlic. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's planted garlic and used this plastic before. Let me know. Should I still be mulching it? Should I still put I've got a couple bales of straw kicking around that I can put on top, or we have a lot of leaves. I can put some leaves on top, but let me know. And then we have some rocks holding it down. And it was not difficult to work with. The hardest part of this job was weeding the bloody bed before putting everything down. It took us hours, because we did want to try, to get as much out as we could. But I think we're going to use this in every single bed. And I think we're going to produce more food. I think we're going to have more joy. I think we're going to start to fall in love with this process again, and hopefully remember why we started homesteading in the first place. So that's it for me. A little bit of a ramble about where my brain was in terms of growing food, being self-sufficient, trying to homestead, trying to eat cleaner in a world that makes that really difficult. I shared this because I know I'm not alone. If there's another local homeschooling mom that felt the exact same way that I did, then chances are there's at least a few of you that are ready to throw in the towel too. Because let's be honest, between all of the other things that we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to show up at work, we're supposed to show up for our spouses, we're supposed to show up for our kids and our communities. How the heck can we meet all those types of standards and still hold these ideals, right, in our mind? And so I figure if I share my story about how I can learn how to be a bit more flexible, hopefully you will find that in your own journey in whatever way that looks like. And if you were on the verge of throwing in the homesteading towel, maybe this will help you fall in love with it again as well. So I want to thank you so much for watching this and putting up with the, little bit of a shaky camera. My son is in French right now, and this was kind of like one of those spontaneous, hey, it's sunny outside. Don't even have my tripod with me. If you've got questions or comments, or if you just resonated with this video and in some way, shape, or form it helped, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spiraea Herbs, wishing you health, wellness, and the opportunity to fall back in love with growing food again.